Open world RPGs promise freedom, huge worlds and endless adventures, but let's be honest, sometimes they also waste your time. So today we are checking 4 big titles, from new releases to a classic comeback, and answering one simple question: are they worth your time or just too much? Avowed does not try to be the next Baldur's Gate 3. Instead, it wins you over in a smarter way. At the start, it may not fully click. The opening feels familiar, and the main plot leans on fantasy ideas we have seen many times before. You arrive in the Living Lands as a divine envoy, sent to investigate a strange plague, and the first impression is more "alright, let's see" than instant excitement. But then, the game gives you its world, and that's where it starts working. In the first hours, Avowed feels best when you stop rushing. You walk into a new area, spot a strange pet, climb higher than expected, find a cave, a hidden chest, maybe even a side objective the game never clearly marked. Exploration feels natural. You are not just following markers, you are actually looking around. That makes a big difference. The world design is easily one of the game's biggest strengths. The zones are large, but not exhausting. They are packed with roads, vertical movement, secrets, and useful rewards. It creates that great feeling where curiosity keeps paying off. And because the map doesn't constantly guide you, discovery feels earned. Quest design is also pretty good. There are fewer quests than in most open world games, but many are layered and flexible, with different approaches. Sometimes you can solve problems without fighting at all. That gives the adventure more character. Combat is another pleasant surprise. In first person, melee feels more active than in many fantasy RPGs. Weapons have weight, movement stays smooth, and switching gear keeps fights dynamic. Magic also stands out more than the basic equipment systems, and spells look especially good from this perspective. Core experience 7.6. Several RPG systems feel thinner than they first appear. Loot, crafting, and scaling often create the illusion of growth more than real progress. Some choices also feel less important than they should, and companions are simply not that memorable. The world itself can also feel oddly static. NPCs often behave more like props than people. Yes, the merchants will calmly watch you steal everything around them. Very believable economy. Time value 7.2. The story stays interesting for most of the campaign, but the ending loses momentum. It doesn't build toward anything truly special, and that takes some weight away from the final hours. Still, Avowed leaves a strong impression. It may not be a top-tier RPG, but it's beautiful, enjoyable to explore, and consistently engaging once it finds its rhythm. Core experience 7.6. Time value 7.2. Price 50. WIG 8.1. At this price, Avowed is a clear worth it. You get a great world and rewarding exploration, even if the systems are a bit shallow. Not a must-play, but a very good pick for RPG fans. If this format helps you decide what's actually worth playing, you can follow the channel. More WIG episodes are coming. Avowed shows that smaller, focused design can still work really well. But what if a game goes all in on a realism instead? Kingdom Come Deliverance II has one clear issue. It feels less like a full sequel and more like a direct continuation. But that is also why it works so well. The biggest problem shows up in the structure. The game builds a strong illusion of choice, especially in dialogues. You often pick responses that seem important, but later the story moves in the same direction anyway. Sometimes Henry even says something different in a cutscene than what you selected earlier. It breaks immersion a bit, especially near the end. There is also the scale. The story is large, with many threads and characters, but not all of them get enough space. Some decisions feel smaller than expected, and the overall narrative stays quite linear despite all the options. So what is the game really? This is a realistic medieval RPG set in 15th century Bohemia. You play as Henry, continuing his story right where the first game ended. It mixes personal revenge with a larger political conflict, but keeps everything grounded. No fantasy, no magic, just dirt, steel, and difficult choices. And this is where the game shines. The world feels natural in a way few RPGs manage. Villages, forests, and cities all feel like real places. NPCs follow daily routines, they work, eat, sleep, and react to what you do. If you steal, they notice. If you act strange, they remember. Exploration is also very different from typical open worlds. You won't find piles of shiny rewards everywhere. Instead, you discover small stories, hidden quests, and unexpected moments. Sometimes it's just a random event on the road. Sometimes it turns into something much bigger. Quest design is easily one of the strongest parts. Many tasks feel grounded and personal. You solve local problems, talk to people, investigate situations, and often things become more complex than they first seem. Even simple jobs can take unexpected turns. Core experience 9.4. Combat and progression follow the same realistic approach. At the start, Henry struggles. Fighting is slow, mistakes hard, and even basic actions feel hard. But over time you improve. Skills grow based on what you use, and you clearly feel the difference. Later, fights become smoother and you gain more control. But there is a catch. If you focus too much on certain skills, you can become too strong. Some abilities, like speech, can remove challenge almost completely. Balance depends heavily on how you play. Time value 9. If you want total freedom with real consequences, this game will politely disagree. Still, Kingdom Come Deliverance II delivers something rare, a grounded, immersive RPG that respects its setting and trusts the player to slow down. Core experience 9.4. Time value 9. Price 60. WIG 9.2. This is a must-buy if you enjoy immersion. It demands patience, but the payoff is huge. Only few RPGs feel this real or this rewarding over time. From grounded realism to something completely different, let's jump to a game that never slows down. Like a Dragon, Infinite World is huge, messy, emotional, and ridiculously easy to enjoy. And somehow it still feels like the series is improving. The first hours pull you in quickly. You start with Ichiban, and that matters a lot because he brings energy into every scene. The move to Hawaii also helps immediately. It gives the game a fresh tone, but it still feels like a Dragon. You run through busy streets, get pulled into strange side stories, jump into turn-based fights, and constantly find something trying to grab your attention. That early experience is one of the game's biggest strengths. Walking around Honolulu is simply fun, not because the map is full of icons, but because the city feels alive with distractions. One minute you follow the main story, the next you are in a weird minigame, taking photos or dealing with random troublemakers. It has that rare momentum where getting sidetracked never feels like a mistake. Combat also works better this time. At first, it looks similar to the last game, but the changes make the battles more active. Positioning matters more. Using the environment or teammates adds extra impact. Enemies and allies move during fights, so everything feels less static. There are also smart quality of life improvements. Auto battle is back, and over-leveled enemies can be cleared quickly, and the game avoids heavy grinding. But the real heart of Infinite World is the party. Casual conversations, restaurant chats, small comments during exploration. That's where the writing really shines. These moments feel natural, warm, and often very funny. They make the group feel close, and they make you want to spend more time with them. Even the new characters fit in surprisingly well. The story is also better than before. Having both Ichiban and Kiryu could feel forced, but it doesn't. Ichiban remains the main lead, while Kiryu gets a more reflective role. It adds nostalgia without taking over the whole experience. Core experience 8.9. The scale of the story sometimes becomes too much for itself. There are many characters, many threads, 2 teams, 2 major finals, and by the end, the game struggles to give everything enough weight. The plot stays engaging, but the final stretch feels slightly overloaded. Some characters also don't get enough space. Time value 8.8. This is the kind of game that gives you 100 hours and still feels like it has more ideas waiting. Even with that messy ending, Infinite World feels like a big success. It proves that turn-based direction works, proves Ichiban can carry the series, and gives Kiryu a role that actually matters. Core experience 8.9. Time value 8.8. Price 70. WIG 8.2. A strong worth it, even at full price. You get massive content, great characters and a lot of variety. Just be ready for a long, slightly messy ride. Infinite World goes big, loud and full of content. But what happens when we go back to a classic? Oblivion Remastered feels like a trip back in time. The problem is, time didn't stand still. This is a refreshed version of a classic RPG from Bethesda. You explore a large fantasy world, complete quests, and build your character your way. The remaster keeps the original core almost untouched, but adds modern visuals on top. And to be fair, that upgrade is easy to notice. Armor, weapons, and character models look much better now. Faces finally resemble real people, at least the imported ones. Lighting also helps a lot, especially indoors. Taverns and dungeons feel more alive. There are also some welcome changes to progression. Leveling is simpler and gives you more control. You no longer need to plan every small action just to avoid ruining your build. Core experience 6.1. But here is the issue. Most of the game still plays exactly like it did years ago. Combat is very basic. You mostly hit enemies until they drop. It works, but it feels outdated today. Exploration can also lose its appeal after a while. Many dungeons look too similar, and rewards rarely surprise you. And then there is the world itself. Enemies scale with your level, so getting stronger feels less meaningful. You improve your gear, but so does everything else. That sense of progress slowly fades. NPC behavior is another weak point. Characters act in strange ways, bump into each other and often break immersion. Animations don't help either. Movement still looks stiff, technical issues also appear from time to time. Performance drops in open areas and random crashes can happen. Nothing game-breaking, but enough to be frustrating. Time value 6.8. And yet, some parts still works very well. Side quests are often excellent. Guide storylines, especially the Dark Brotherhood or Thieves Guild, are still memorable. These moments reminds you why Oblivion was so special. The main story, on the other hand, is not one of those moments. Paying full price for nostalgia is a bold move. In the end, Oblivion Remastered is the best way to play the game today, but it also shows how old its design really is. Core experience 6.1, time value 6.8, price 55, WIG 6.7. This is more of a worth it on sale. Great for nostalgia or first time curiosity, but full price is hard to justify. Open world RPGs can give you some of the best experiences in the gaming, but also some of the most exhausting ones. Some respect your time, some test your patience, and in the end, that's what really decides if they are worth it. Which of these games feels worth your time, and which ones feels like too much? I'm curious how you see it.